wondered if you could tell me briefly about your past history in sourcing venture capital.
Sure. Well, I did it so long ago, for the first time, was back in 1985,
Wow.
when I was the founder of Parenting Magazine. Because I'm out here, I looked first to Sand Hill Road and VCs for investment. And magazines were really not in their sweet spot. It wasn't a technology company. I met some guys who became giant VCs, later on. Bob Cagle, Tim Draper, who made
he's a lovely
an
guy.
Angel investment in parenting before he even started Draper Fisher.
Wow,
My dear friend David Nierenberg, who left the venture world for a hedge fund that I'm an investor in. So I met great people, but it really wasn't a venture kind of a deal, and I ended up raising the money from Time Inc. instead.
Right.
After that, the next time I went the venture route was for TBD, which was a social networking site that I founded in 2005. And I raised angel money first and then venture money. So that's my more recent experience. We closed our Series A in the beginning of 2006.
Right, okay.
I'm sorry, 2007.
Right. What personal lessons, being a woman, have you taken out of your successes and or failures in this regard?
Well, I don't really feel like being a woman had any impact on my raising money.
That's great.
I think what has an impact on raising money, and probably not in this order, but the ones that come to mind, are your track record.
Right.
If you have succeeded previously, obviously a great thing. Even if you failed previously. I mean, my investors, I lost all of my investors' money and my own money in TBD. And yet when I joined Scout, it really wasn't a factor.
Yes.
In fact, several people from prominent venture firms said you learned more by doing that.
Yes,
and it's made you more hands-on, which is sort of more appropriate for today's startups, small startups, which don't take as much capital. So I don't actually think that being a woman had an impact. I think a track record has an impact. Now, there are fewer women who have led companies, who have founded companies, who have succeeded or failed than men. Right. So of course that's a factor. There are fewer of us. Right. But once you have that track record, I don't believe that you're either advantaged or disadvantaged with venture capitalists.
Right.
So I believe that. Now, I think today's kind of startup, in the world that I'm in, which is the consumer technology company, being an engineer as a founder is really important. And there just aren't that many women engineers. We know Larry Summers got fired from Harvard for saying that, and I don't agree with his reasoning, but it is true.
Yes.
So every time you've got something that reduces the pool of available women, whether they're in engineering or whether they've had the track record, there's less for the VCs to invest in. But VCs are complete sheep. They follow the trend, right?
They do.
So, if a woman walks in with what they're funding that week, I'm not saying they all do, but the lion's share of them are lemmings. And if a woman walks in with that hot sector that they're all funding that week, they'll fund her company.
Yes.
Whether she's done it before, or female, male, or anything in between. They will overlook anything in the race to get in on the next hot deal.
Right.
So I think that people make more of it. I mean,
Yeah, okay. Definitely more enlightened here than it is in London, that's for sure.
I'm sure that's right. I am privileged to live in Silicon Valley.
Yes, really, I would say so. It's like heaven here compared to London and Ireland.
I think it's like heaven. As much as I love Ireland, it is like heaven here.
What attitudes towards you being female have you noted from venture capitalists when you've been sourcing investments? Has anyone given you any feedback or?
Not on being female. I mean, I'm older now, so I see the baby VCs who are really young enough to be my kids. I'm in my 50s. I have a funny story from the days when I was raising money for parenting and trying to convince these guys to take a bet on a magazine.
Yes.
They wanted an industry expert to talk to them about advertising because I was not an advertising expert.
Yes.
So I got the woman who was then the head of advertising for the Magazine Publishers Association, and she happened to be a former Penthouse pet. I had worked with her at Penthouse. I think these guys thought, oh my God, we've died and gone to heaven. This is what they look like in publishing, very different from Silicon Valley.
How wonderful.
And she was lovely,
Yeah.
Scottish actually.
Yes.
And they still didn't invest. So I don't think actually you could bring in the great, beautiful guns and it didn't matter. They weren't funding magazines, they didn't fund mine.
Okay. What qualities do you think women entrepreneurs need specifically for sourcing venture capital? Many have mentioned women's intuitive abilities, and I quote you, women get more credit than men for being intuitive, and some of the things that stop women from listening to their gut are they hold themselves up to unrealistically perfect standards, and so then their gut starts giving them insecurities instead of messages that are really helpful, like, oh, I'm not qualified for that, which is not something you generally hear men say. I think women have some real potential for being more emotionally in tune. So do you think...
I wrote that?
Yeah, you did. I was like so impressed when
Well, it's a while ago, and maybe I'll edit it on the fly now, because what I think is, in a way, it's bad to be in tune with your emotions when your emotions are making you feel insecure. So,
got it. Okay.
So women will... I mean, I had a friend who is an amazing success story today, C-level exec, and she was describing a job where she's being recruited, and she was telling me all the reasons she wasn't qualified for it. I guarantee you, a man in that position would not have that conversation. So in a way, listening to your gut is good, but not when it's giving you the message of, uh-oh, here's the hole in my resume. Guys don't do that, and women need to stop doing that too.
And I wonder if that's the gut. It may be more the insecurity and the lack of confidence rather than the gut feeling. Yeah.
So I think that quote was more of a mashup than what I believe. What I believe is that women need whatever it takes to make them feel, invulnerable. And basically, if you're going into VCs as a founder, you have to suspend disbelief or you wouldn't be a founder.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the odds are overwhelmingly against you. Most things fail. So you've got to suspend any disbelief about your ability to get it done. Because I don't know if most founders see the possible problems. I mean, I've worked with male founders, I've worked with female founders, I've been a founder several times. I don't know any of them who fit the image of never doubt, complete, the Silicon Valley asshole theory. I've met those assholes later in their lives, and I don't think Larry Ellison would ever admit to a moment of self-doubt. But the founders that I meet generally think, oh my God, can I actually get everything to happen? And you just have to suspend that. And I think in some ways men are better at denial than women.
Yes. And I have had feedback during these interviews that women tend to be more upfront, realistic,
self-deprecating. I did rehearsals with one of my girlfriends who's a C-level exec herself, has been an entrepreneur in residence at venture firms, top, on the cover of Forbes. And when I did my pitch, I guess it was for TBD, I don't think it was for Scoutford, she was like, self-deprecating, take it out.
Very good.
So it's a good tip. It's like get somebody else.
To have a mentor like that.
Yeah. Well, I hate the word mentor, but I call them tour mentors. But have a friend. I mean, have somebody who's going to give you the tough feedback.
Honest feedback. Great.